stuff is selling, but I'm not making any money. One of the biggest mistakes I see designers make is not charging enough to cover their costs to make a profit. The price has to cover cost of goods sold as well as the indirect costs. Today, we're going to deal with all of those indirect costs that you aren't thinking about. Most of us in the industry know what cost of goods sold actually means. But for the newbies, I'm not going to leave anything up to chance. I'll just tell you, cost of goods sold means any of the expenses incurred in order to produce the item on order. This includes button, zippers, fabric construction, and shipping. These are very easy to track. Now let's talk about all those indirect costs you're not thinking about. I know I wasn't. And we're talking about those costs that sneak up out of nowhere and punch you in the face. Design and development costs. So, I'll tell you a little story. I wanted to create really cool, unique jewelry that you get these materials from all over the world and they can never be duplicated because they're from these crazy little remote villages with people who are doing really cool stuff. Yeah, how do you build a business sustaining? You need to go and find these unique and cool materials every single time you create your line. Now, for a new entrepreneur that didn't have a lot of money to start with, that isn't feasible. Why? A plane ride and accommodations every time I need to get inspired. Now, you hear about designers traveling all the time to get inspired, but as a new entrepreneur, it's not that simple. Development and design costs are any and all things incurred in order to do the research and development. In my case, it was travel. I had to travel, find the cool materials, and bring them back. That costs money. Big expense. So that was one of my big development costs. So you really need to look and see what are your big development costs that you're not thinking about in order to make your first prototypes. All of that needs to be factored into the final price of the item that you're selling. I make everything myself. I don't need to pay anybody. If you are making everything yourself, you are in trouble. And I mean big trouble. And I say this because that was me. So labor's the biggest one, right? There can't be much others. Wrong! Of course there's plenty others. What about all of the overhead? Rent, bookkeeping, salaries, telephone, printing, sales expenses like lookbooks, the thing we all love to look at. Those things need to be factored into the final price. Yes, believe it or not. Why? Because all of this has to be paid for somehow. And if you're selling a product, where else would the money come from than the sales of the product? So the final price has to factor all this stuff in. Are we getting it? What about the trade shows? Eventually you'll want to go to a trade show if you're planning on making any money. What about advertising? What about PR? And if you're sitting there thinking, I'm not going to need most of that stuff, why are we still talking? Then, for those who it applies to, you also need to factor in markdowns, cancellations, and returns. People will buy things come back to the store. How many things have you bought and returned to the store? Because you changed your mind, you didn't like it, damages. Those things need to also be accounted for in the final price. So all of this needs to be divided up and allocated throughout the collection. You setting the standard now that I am in business to make money, fashion business, whatever business, I'm in business to make money, that will make the difference between success and, we won't say bankruptcy, we'll say non-success. So today was a doozy. Pricing, costs, all of those things, they're important. They're critical. Profit is critical. How do you feel when you're making money as a business? How do you feel when you're not making money? Kill me now. All right, get yourself together. It's fine. All of these things are tools to prepare you. That's why I'm here, to tell you how it is. So, thank you so much for joining me, and don't forget to tune into our next episode. And if you want to see the cool things I make and I create, you can go to my website at www.imoniq.com, or don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter so you know when the next episode is coming out. Anyways, it was great to talk to you today. I love to be here for you, so I hope to see you next time. All right.